here in the room, also from my side, and a warm welcome also for everyone connected with this digital technology that make now possible, even this hard time of the pandemic, to be together. So I'm very excited because actually what we will discuss today, it will make a difference between what was before and what will be after for Ducati. Because actually we announced today the entrance of Ducati into the electrical mobility. We announced today that we have reached an agreement with Dorna in order to be the single supplier for the MotoE championship from 2023 to 2026. And this is a very important step for us because actually we are continuing to do what we did in the past, but with the technology that for sure will come even on 2 wheels in the future, even for production motorcycle. And we, as Ducati, are everything about performance. So our core value are style, sophistication, and performance. And so we decided to enter the electrical mobility really from the top. And there is no better way than competition, really to test everything, to learn, to make experience. And we want our engineers to become as good as they are in developing internal combustion engine. And I think everyone can say that our engine in MotoGP is one of the fastest, if not the faster. We want to get the same experience and technology on electrical propulsion. And so this is the reason why when we start discussing, we thought it was a very good moment. It's a long period. Actually, we are experiencing, making tests, trying to understand when it was the right moment. For motorcycle, the main problem is the weight. And so actually we have a program in order to make the motorcycle as light as possible that I think was one of the winning that decided for Dorna that our program was good. And so we are super excited really to start in 2023.
Claudio, thank you very much. Very exciting news indeed. Carmelo, if we can get some thoughts from you now as well. Ducati, of course, a powerhouse in MotoGP. What fabulous news for a growing championship that from 2023 onwards, Ducati will take over.
Thank you, Claudio. Welcome to all the journalists here and Telematic. Well, for us it's an important day. As you know, we create, together with the FIM, the NLFIM World Cup MotoE Championship 3 years ago. And since this time, we have been working a lot in the development of this category. We want to start this speech saying thank you very much to Energica, who has permitted to us to start with this championship 3 years ago. Still, we will continue with Energica next year. And also to Enel and to Michelin. They have been the 3 key suppliers to continue with that. Then, in the way to develop everything and to improve the things, we have been discussing during the last couple of years regarding how the improvement will be the future or whatever. We talk with different manufacturers, and then finally we talk with Ducati. The project they present to us was achieving all our goals, and we are very proud to announce today that we signed the agreement with Ducati starting for 23, and we think will be a new era for the MotoE. Then we are extremely happy to announce today this agreement.
Carmelo, thank you very much. We're going to pass over to questions to members of the media shortly, but Claudio, if I could just firstly ask a question. At what stage was this given the green light? And what stage did you start discussing this as a possibility? And also, at what stage will we get a first glimpse at the motorcycle itself and in terms of its testing and production, etc.?
Yeah, actually, as I said, we started actually making our mind about electrical mobility long time in the past, but it's just in recent time that we start discussing with Dorna, and actually the agreement was reached very recently. And so it's actually from the reaching of the agreement that we really started being really effective into the project. And so that will take a while before we are on the racetrack. And so we will be all 2022 actually to finish the development of the bike, have the bike on the racetrack, and really make all the development. that we want to come in 2023 with a project which is already tested, approved, has all the safety requirements that are very relevant and very important. But even as important, we want to have the performance that Dorna requested us. So the project is all based on being light as possible, even being an electrical motorcycle. And we have also all the idea to take all the software and the learning that we had from MotoGP directly into the motorcycle in order to have a high-performance product.
Okay, Claudio, thank you very much. I know there's a lot of journalists really keen to ask some questions, so I'm going to... yes, okay, before that, if possible, could we get a photo with both of you before we move over to members of the media for questions? Thank you very much. Thank you very much, gentlemen. We're going to kick off questions from members of the media, starting with Paola.
Paolo Ianieri, Gazzetta dello Sport. Claudio, when we think of Ducati, we might not think about MotoE, because the Ducatisti are riders who like powers, speed, and everything. So I'm sure that this is also something that you have been thinking of when you were starting to launch. But Ducati has always been also a visionary brand, trying to find and to look into the future what was going on. And also, how much is going to be the help of the Audi group, Lamborghini, and everything to develop this new bike? Thank you.
So, yes, your question is very appropriate. And there is always this thinking that electrical mobility is kind of boring. And actually, I can assure you that I've tested cars with 1,000 kilowatt. And actually, it's the most impressive things I've ever ridden in my life. So electrical mobility, it's very crispy, and the throttle response is very sharp, and so it's really an exciting power plane. The main problem is the weight. So this is the reason why on cars it is an easier problem to solve than on bikes. And on cars the direction is already taken, and I think that every one of us as manufacturers have to make our own homework in improving the sustainability of the company. In order to make our part, the European Union is asking strongly all the company to reduce CO2 emission. And so actually we have to learn how to do in the future. And while I think that for the time being the level of technologies available is not yet ready to make a sporty light production electrical motorcycle, it will be in the future because the technology of the battery is improving quite quickly. And so this is the reason why we want to become as expert as we can in order to be ready when the time is there. And for the group help, it's of course very, very important. Some brands are more close to us than others. And we are part of the VW group, and there's a center of excellence for battery in Salzgitter, and we are very close discussing with them. But this center of excellence is mainly related to mass production cars, and so mainly VW and Audi. And so we are also relating very strictly with the more sporty brand in the group, like Porsche and Lamborghini. And Porsche, for example, is developing their own specific technology for battery cell that are specifically developed for being for small series of really high performance product. And Porsche just presented the Mission R, in which the battery is very sophisticated, it's oil cooled, and so there is a lot of experience, and of course we will take a very good advantage on that.
Yes, I have a question here, Carmelo. On this side, or here? Carmelo, I have two questions. One, do you have discussed with other brands that are in MotoGP at this moment regarding entering in MotoE, and you have chosen Ducati?
Yes, we discussed with many of the people who are here and on other people who are not in the MotoGP paddock. We discussed with a lot of people during the last 2 years.
And the other question is, will the status of the championship change in 2023 to a full world championship like MotoGP, Moto3 or Moto2? Is there a plan with the FIM in this sense?
Today is a World Cup, And in the moment, this is the situation that I don't say if in the future this could change, but today is a World Cup.
Yes, and sorry, one more for Claudio. Claudio, I can imagine that the racing department needs to have a special department for this. Can you explain how much will the racing department grow in terms of people and this?
I mean, our racing department is already very big, and so actually it's already very expensive. So they will grow really quite a little because we need to control the cost. I'm joking. Racing department and the production R&D, they will work quite closely together because, as I said, the most relevant meaning for us of doing this is to develop the technology, and to develop the technology in order to be then ready to make a production motorcycle. So the bike will be a full racing bike and will be developed together. The racing team will manage the bikes on the field, and actually this is part of the agreement with Dorna, so there is a very close and strict protocol on how to make the management of the team, the spare parts and everything. So all of this will be managed by Gigi and all his team, the testing of the bike and so on, while the design of the bike will be made more by the production people in order that we generate technology and understanding.
Hi guys, Thomas Beaujean from GP Mag in France. A question for you, Claudio. From the Super Mono to the Panigale, you've been overlooking the company as an engineer also. For you, speaking to the engineer and not the boss, what is the biggest challenge in developing electric high-performance bikes?
Oh, it's super easy answer. The biggest challenge is the weight compared with the range. So the main problem of lithium, which actually is already a very good chemistry, is that the energy density that you can charge on the lithium is kind of 15 times less, 15 to 20 times less than the fuel. So the amount of, actually, the battery is the fuel for an electrical motorcycle. The amount of fuel that you need to load in terms of kilograms is super heavy. So this is the big challenge. And so we need to learn how to make the best use of the energy, which is how the inverter is designed, the efficiency of the inverter, the energy recovery, the efficiency of the engine, but the most will be which chemistry actually we can select. And so this is the biggest challenge, to make a motorcycle which is not too heavy than a typical ICE motorcycle and have enough range. On the other hand, we are in a period that from now on to the end of the decade, the number of charging points for the motorcycles will increase a lot because they will take charge for the car, and the car will go down much quicker. So on the other side, you can see that it will be very relevant, the charging time, because actually if you come to a motorcycle in which charging time is then 10 minutes, actually it's very acceptable. You make 150 kilometers and then you stop for 10 minutes and it's fine. So it's not a big issue. And in order to be super quick in charging time, you need to have high voltage, because with high voltage you can reduce the charging time. So, but we are just on the beginning of a very interesting journey.
Ciao Claudio, Simon Patterson from The Race. Obviously, unlike the previous manufacturer, there is no production motorcycle to modify into an electric bike. So what can you tell us about the plans for the machine? And is the eventual plan that we will see a Ducati road replica of whatever is raced?
The racing bike, it's under definition now. And so we will discuss much more about all the technical detail next year. As I say, it's a plan for us to make also a deep workshop when we will have the component and everything in order to explain why we decided for a certain type of battery, why we decided for a certain type of inverter, and so on. And definitely, yes, our plan is to make a production version, but it's not fixed any date, because it's not fixed when the battery will be good enough for that. So we need to work on that, follow the development, and so it will not for sure before 2025 if you want to get, and in my opinion could be earlier than 2030. But it is not an easy going to solve, because even MotoE currently they have delimited the number of laps, and we think we can do something a little better. Let's see how much Gigi and the team and the development team, they will be good in order to make something a bit better, but it's not quantum leap. So battery is not like a microprocessor in which you have the Moore's law, in which the computation power double every 18 months. The energy density is not doubling every 18 months, so it's a much slower process, but actually it's present. And you have a lot of companies, a lot of very clever people that actually now are deep diving into researching on the chemistry. So we're quite sure that with all this interest, the progress will be faster than it was in the past.
Paolo Scalera from GP1. A question for you as a CEO of Ducati and also as an engineer. A few minutes ago, Casey Stoner said that he started lacking interest in Casey Stoner, introducing a new helmet for Nolan, sponsor of the GP, said that he started lacking interest in racing from two-stroke to four-stroke. His real love was two-stroke, and the actual MotoGP are easier to ride, too much electronics, too much control, and things like that. As a racing enthusiast yourself, how do you judge the statement of Casey, and don't you think that in the next future maybe the real racer will lack interest in racing if we go forward to electric?
Okay, I love Casey, but I do not share his opinion. I think that the last 3 races were just fantastic, and the one in which Pecco was able to win the race and the one in Aragon, actually, I think there were kind of 7 overlap in 3 laps or something like this. So it's, I think that safety improved a lot because of electronic aids. And we have a responsibility, and I have a responsibility on the racer, but even more relevant, we have a responsibility on the people that ride the motorcycle on the road. And safety is very relevant, very important. We as a community, we have to do everything is possible to increase safety and also to make the motorcycle a more accepted product. Motorcycle, yes, two-stroke was maybe exciting, but actually the pollution that they were emitting, it's completely impossible. And we need, actually, every one of us, or most of us, have sons. We need to consider also which world we will leave to our sons and the son of our sons. So I think that, so I'm quite optimistic that even that this is a responsible decision, we will not lack really performance. Then we may argue about the sound, and this is a different story. But let's not stop progress. Maybe we find a solution for the sound. I think that the solution, for example, that is used now for the bikes entering the pits, the current e-motorcycle, can be maybe a bit improved. And so we are already considering to do something for the sound.
I can't remember Carmelo, first time he heard the Yamaha M1 in Barcelona that was not so noisy. You remember that you start talking with Lynn Jarvis about the noise of the engine. You would like to have more noise.
Well, for me, and I'm happy with the answer of Claudio, it's no doubt, in my opinion, that the MotoGP right now is much, much better than the two-stroke. Like that. Then the people who is talking about two-stroke is the same as the people are talking about other very old things. The world is developing, and the world is in technology is every time better. Then the bikes today in MotoGP are much, much better than the 500 bikes. More safe, more performance, and better show. I don't need to tell to you how was the difference in the fantastic times of the two-stroke between the first and the third. Now we put, thanks to the manufacturers, in 1.5 seconds all the grid. And then in this way, we are continue developing everything which is interesting for the market and for the people. We will continue with our 3 classes, Moto3, Moto2, and MotoGP, and as we do during the last 3 years and next year with Energica in MotoE, we are now a new partner as Ducati, very accredited partner, who present to us a fantastic program, and we are happy. Then regarding the noise, I fully maintain the situation. Then I am happy with the noise of the MotoGP, and I am happy also with the silence of MotoE. It's different things. We are selling different products, and it's not necessary everyone like that. Then it is our status.
Giovanni Zamagni, MotoE from Italy. I have a question for Claudio Domenicali. Claudio, do you think that Ducatisti are happy after this news or not?
Ducatisti, it's a wide community. It's a community of very passionate people, very competent, and they are growing over time. So I think we have to split a little bit. We have Ducatisti that are more conservative, which are some of the people that still complain about not having any more the trellis frame on the Monster, for example, and they are kind of linked to something which is very much heritage. And so if for these people that are a minority that actually consider that Ducati should be a twin-cylinder air-cooled 2 valves with turret frame, actually the times is changing. And so, but we already changed many times, you know. So we have liquid-cooled since the 85, and then we went from twin-cylinder to V4 with actually a very good success. We taken the V4 from the MotoGP, which we developed for 10 years, before taking to production with the Panigale in 2018. And it was incredible commercial success. Actually, we are winning comparative tests. Everyone is very excited about the motorcycle. And then we've taken the V4 even in the Multistrada, which actually was another disruption, you know, because typically all the dual segment motorcycle are twin-cylinder engine, and we wanted to go our way, and so we went with the V4, and the resulting comparative test of this year of this motorcycle is fantastic, and the appreciation of the customer as well. And we even removed the desmodromic system from this engine on the Multistrada, because actually the desmodromic system is fantastic for high performance, is fantastic for revving 19,000, 18,000, but actually it's a problem for longer maintenance interval. So we think that electrical mobility will have sense in the future when we will be able to make a motorcycle will be light enough. And I'm sure that when we will make this product, vast majority of all Ducatisti will really love it, because if you have a light electrical product, it's really lovely.
Hello, gentlemen. This is Frank Weying from Eurosport Netherlands. I have 2 questions. Well, first of all, Claudio, you talked about the fact that Ducati obviously are thinking of introducing, let's say, an electric bike in the future, a street bike. Does that mean that you will have one, let's say, engine for several bikes, or just to start off with just one bike? And could you give us an idea of the future that you are thinking of? You just said not before 2025, but maybe 2030, maybe even after that. And are they going to replace the combustion engines? And my other question is about the construction that it is now. We have the satellite teams in MotoGP and teams from Moto2 who participate in MotoE. Is that construction going to change? Is it going to be the same? Maybe that's the question for Carmelo.
The structure will be the same, yes. We will continue with agreement with the teams of MotoGP and some teams of Moto2. Then the structure will be the same. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I try to be quick on the question on the engine, and actually we are thinking to develop technology with this MotoE program, and we are now somehow also thinking how could be the program for electrical mobility, and we are thinking about the platform, because once you make the investment for the electrical engine and for all the battery, power pack and inverter, actually like with the IC engine, it makes sense to share a platform. So our idea is to have the ride from the technology we develop here with the platform of electrical motorcycle. And it's very difficult to say if and when e-motorcycle will replace internal combustion engine. A lot will have also to do with the development of e-fuel, for example. If e-fuel will be available commercially with a reasonable quantity, then overnight we'll get a normal engine that will come carbon neutral. And so that could solve the equation, but maybe this fuel, it's expensive, and so we'll remain some internal combustion engine using e-fuel, and some other more mid-sized electrical propulsion. And when this electrical bike is charged with energy coming from a green source, then you have carbon neutrality again. So it's kind of difficult. We have many different options open at the current time.
Thank you.
Hi, David Emmett from MotorMatters.com. A question for Claudio, or well, two questions. Building on what Frank asked, does choosing this direction of e-bikes, I mean, there are many possible fuel sources. There is synthetic fuel, there's hydrogen fuel, there's battery power. Does this mean that Ducati has chosen a direction for the future of their production? Are you putting all of your, are you betting everything on electric bikes being the future of two-wheel mobility? And also the future of MotoGP. I mean, we have a new 5-year contract coming up, and then the next one after that will be likely very similar. But do you see a role for open racing of electric bikes from 2031, for example?
So the first question is very clear for us. We do not think that now it's clear that the future of mobility for motorcycle will be electric. As I said, e-fuel can make an important role on that. And for example, Porsche, they already have stated that in 2030 we'll have 80% of the range that will be electric, but the 911 will remain with an internal combustion engine, and they are developing e-fuel in South America, because actually e-fuel, in order to be produced, required a lot of energy. And actually, the only way to produce a green e-fuel if you have a lot of renewable energy. And so you have to make in a place in which there is either a lot of sun or a lot of wind. But still, this project for Porsche is a project which is prototype. So it's difficult now to predict exactly. Let's say if e-fuel become a reality, the engine have not to be changed too much. So already we have the technology. So we want to develop the technology on e-mobility in order to be ready, actually, in the event that really this is the direction to go. So we are thinking on what is the best way to keep our company in 10 years from now alive and better and more competitive than what it is today, whatever is the playing field and playing ground.
Okay, thank you.
We have already with the manufacturers an agreement to study the different kinds of fuel we can use, and very soon will be an announcement together of the MSMA members and proposing different measures to start to use e-fuel, biofuel to go to carbon neutral. But these are two different ways. In one side, we will make experience with a different fuel, and on the other side, we are developing together with Ducati from now the electric mobility. It's both sides. We need to be in the top of this situation, and we are experiencing in both lines.
I think that what Carmelo said is super important, because actually in this championship now you have both the platform, and so the conventional engine are fantastic. We have MotoGP, which is fantastic, we don't want to touch, but actually we want to move in a direction of carbon neutrality, and so their e-fuel and synthetic fuel will make their role, and so to understand how to then transfer that into mass production. And on the other side, we have a platform to develop e-mobility in order to be high performance. So it's a kind of predicting what could be the future in 10 years from now.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. This is Guido from Raceport in the Netherlands. I have a question for Mr. Domenicali. Recently, we saw the agreement between Yamaha, Honda, KTM, and Piaggio to use the same swappable batteries. What has been the reason that Ducati is not involved with this, or is this something that is from the bigger group?
Actually, a swappable battery is by definition a small one. A battery for a car, it's 500 kilograms. So it's very difficult to forecast to swap a 500 kilograms battery. And for a bike, a big bike, it's a battery of 100 kilograms or even more. So a swappable battery, by definition, is for a small vehicle. And actually, we wanted to develop the technology coming from the top. So we just choose a different route. High performance electrical motorcycle, which is very difficult, but actually it's our playing field because we, as Ducati, we are style, sophistication, and performance. So we start from the performance side of electrical mobility, and so it's just two different applications.
Thank you.
Okay, gentlemen, that concludes the press conference. Claudio, Carmelo, thank you so much for your time, and many congratulations on your collaboration.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sound business.